Hey everybody, what is up? So sorry about that. I realized the tweet that I scheduled to go live never went live, but now we are live. We're here. Hello everyone. It is 2 o'clock on Thursday. I almost said it was Tuesday. It's not Tuesday, but it is 2 o'clock on Thursday, which means it's time for the Monster Redesign stream. What is going on, everybody? How you doing? I'm doing well. I slept in a little bit today, so I'm doing a little bit of catch up, and so far it's being successful. I was glad I was able to make this stream. Anytime I sleep in, it really throws off my whole week, and so my whole day. And so I was kind of like in this weird state of telling myself, like, maybe cancel the stream. I was like, no. You've canceled too many of those. It's time to do it. I'm glad that I did. I'm glad that I'm here. What's going on, everybody? Let's see what else is happening. I went to The Northman last night. I really dug it. I think it's not a perfect film, but I've never felt more seen by a movie than by that movie. Like, it's grim and unpleasant, and like I'm not looking forward to watching it again, even though it was really well made. It's like a very like bleak experience, but the number of references and stuff in it that I feel like only people like me and like Jackson Crawford and like other Norse mythology, Dorcases would understand. It's like all over that movie, and it's great, and I liked it, and I kind of feel like you have to have some of that to I mean, you could probably still enjoy it, but I felt like if you don't understand some of those things, a lot of it's going to go over your head, which was delicious and chocolatey for me, but maybe not great for other people. I recommend it, though. Go check it out. It's got some stuff in it. It's got some gore. But it was relatively light on some other things I was worried it was going to have. I have this idea. I want to do a thread about it because I think it's actually like, of course, it's getting some traction among the far right who, likes to appropriate Norse mythology for their own weird political agenda. But I think it's funny because anyone who does that, any Nazi who likes that movie didn't watch that movie because that movie is deeply critical of that whole masculine way of thinking. Which is funny that they like it, and that's what I want to talk about. But that's not what we're talking about today. Why am I talking about the Northmen when I should be talking about demons? Yes, that's right. We are still talking about demons. This is episode number 2 of our 4-part demon monster redesign, as I'm working my way through the 5th edition monster manual. Ta-da! We have a lot of demons that we need to redesign, and so that's what we're going to do today. If you've not listened to the podcast, check out Monster of the Week. That is a semi-weekly, we take long hiatuses, but it's mostly a weekly podcast that I do where I break down the 5th edition monster manual one monster at a time. It feels like I've been doing it for 1,000 years, but we are only 40 pages into this enormous book. We have a lot more pages to go, a lot more monsters to talk about. But this week we are going to talk about some of the demons that you might find in the 5th edition monster manual. We talked about the 3 weakest demons last week, the Dretch, the Mains, and the Quasit. And this week we are talking about the next tier of monsters, the next tier of demons. And there are 4 that are on in this week. I think there's also probably 4 next week. But this week we are talking about the barlgura, the chasme, the Shadow Demon, and the Vrock. Now, if you've never tuned into one of these streams before, the way this works is that we will break down each monster, or I've already broken them down on the podcast, so go ahead and check out the podcast. The information is up above. It's called Monster of the Week. But we're going to focus today on redesigning those monsters based on the critiques that I kind of put forward in the podcast. So we'll really briefly summarize the monsters and briefly summarize the critiques, and then we will tuck into the design itself. I was beginning to read David's chat. It says, hello, time to draw some pentagrams and make some deals. Yeah, very good. That is exactly what we're going to do. It's funny you mentioned deals. I was thinking the other day, I have a cool idea for the devils when we get to the devils, because the devils have a similar problem that I have with the demons. And that's the first thing we're going to talk about, is that demons as a whole have no unifying mechanic that ties them all together. I will often get confused about which monster is which and which one belongs in which category. I'm now realizing that's a little bit stupid because most of the devils in the game have the name devil after their name. So ice devil, chain devil, barbed devil, bearded devil, spined devil, that kind of thing. Whereas the demons generally don't. But there are a few exceptions, like the Arinyes, I don't know how to say it in the devils, and the Merilith. I get mixed up all the time. But what I would like is that I think it would be cool if each one of the types of fiends had a particular unifying power that was the same across all of them. To kind of like, this is the thing that they all do. Again, Colville talks about this a little bit in his Flea Mortals Kickstarter. About like all goblins have the crafty ability, and all zombies have this ability, all squid monsters have this ability. So I wanted to do something similar with demons, and I thought we came up with a pretty cool one last time. Oh, I didn't get it up. I'm going to need to reference it. So let me pull up a stat block. You guys won't see this, but I will pull up a stat block of, we'll just say, the mains that we designed last time. Oh, this is the old school version of the mains. Oh no, do I not have the new school version of it? I've got to have a version here. Quasit. Do I have a Quasit with our redesigned version? Boy, I hope so. Abyssal Hunger, yes, okay. So, the Quasit's one is a little bit unique, but the way it works is that when the demon reduces a creature that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points, roll 1d20. On a roll of 1 through 19, the demon gains 2d6 temporary hit points, advantage on all attack rolls for 1 minute, and their melee attacks deal an extra 1d4 fire damage. On a 20, the demon instantly transforms into a Type 1 demon, a barlgura, a shadow demon, or a vrock. That should probably be a barlgura, a chasme, a shadow demon, or a vrock, although I think that might just be the Type 1 demons. Let me look. But that is the ability that we're going to be giving to our demons today, because the conceit is that they only advance in power by killing and destroying other creatures, specifically non-fiends. Ooh, I might need to change that, because this is a creature that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points, right? Implies that they can't do it to devils. And they should be able to kill devils to get more powerful, right? In the Blood War. Or maybe not. Maybe it's cool if it has to be mortals. I don't know. But they become a Type 1 demon. Oh yeah, we do have 4 demons that kind. So the Hezro, the Glabrezu, the Yarklal, and the Nelfeshne. So then it would be a type. We have to depending on what type of demon they are. So like when we port this over to the Barlgura, we'll say they become a Type 2 demon, either a Chasme or a Hezro. But the Chasme will be the only one that becomes a Type 3 demon, either a Glabrezu or a Yarklal. But that's kind of the power. The idea is to make them sort of voracious. Like they want to destroy in order to gain more power, in order to become stronger and to rise in the kind of like Darwinist survival of the fittest hierarchy that demons have. Unlike devils, a very strict hierarchy, all about bureaucracy and things like that. I think that the demons are just about killing and that like burst of kind of euphoria that they get whenever they destroy an enemy. Great. So that's the main one. And that's a simple fix. We can go through and we can paste that into all of them and just make sure that we have the types sort of appropriately placed. But what else we're going to do is we're going to go through it and we're going to come up with one unique ability or one change, one kind of rework for each one of our 4 demons. So the 4 demons we're working with today, we have the barlgura, who is basically like a gigantic demonic orangutan. This is a CR5 monster. It's got most of the same things you would expect from a demon. It's got resistances to cold, fire, and lightning. It's got dark vision, telepathy, 120 feet, speaks abyssal, all that stuff. It has innate spell casting, which allows the the barlgura to cast a couple of spells, kind of weirdly. Entangle, Phantasmal Force, Disguise Self, which I kind of take the piss out of in the podcast, and then Invisibility, Self only. It's got a Reckless power, which, means it gains advantage on all melee attack rolls it makes during that turn, and it has Running Leap, so it jumps farther. And then lastly, it's got multi-attack with its Bite and then 2 fist attacks. So, you know, kind of a bruiser, but it's got this weird suite of other random powers. So my proposed fix for the barlgura is that it doesn't really feel like an ape when you run it. It does if you just attack. If you just do bites and fists, then yeah, it feels pretty ape-like. But the kind of like, I think the fantasy that you're going after, that you're chasing with a monster like the barlgura, isn't, you know, disguise self and entangle. It's King Kong, right? It's about smashing, it's about grabbing, it's about throwing, you know, like city buses across the block. You want something that feels like a big, rampaging, destructive force. So my fix for the barlgura, I think that's my main hang-up, is that like these innate spellcasting things are just weird and useless and just kind of extra fluff, when we could have it have like a fun, unique ability. So months ago, last year, I think, almost a year ago, when Kong versus Godzilla came out, I kind of like on a lark designed a King Kong monster, just like for fun. You know, it's like a CR20 kind of like big Titan monster that you would fight. And in doing that, I think I came up with a cool mechanic that I want to borrow for the barlgura. It's called Improvised Weapon. The way it works is that Kong can spend his bonus action to grab a huge object within reach, a boulder, a tower, a ship's mast, and wield it as an improvised weapon. All attacks made with an improvised weapon have disadvantage. After hitting with an improvised weapon attack, the weapon is destroyed, and Kong must spend his bonus action to acquire another before making another improvised weapon attack. And then under actions, you add an attack called Improvised Weapon. It's melee or ranged attack, plus, you know, X to hit, reach, whatever, or range, whatever, one target. In this case, it was reach 20, and it's a range 100 to 200 feet because, you know, Kong is gargantuan. Obviously, the barlgura is much smaller, so you would limit that range. It deals X amount of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, and the target must make a DC X strength saving throw. On a failure, Kong can choose whether the target is pushed up to 30 feet away, knocked prone, or restrained. Escape DC X. So the idea here is that it's kind of about the flavor of like, where is the barlgura, what's around it, and what does it pick up in order to just like pound into somebody, right? The notion of the, you know, must make an X DC X strength saving throw is to give it some utility. Though, like, if the barlgura wants to just like pound on the damage, it can do that. Or alternatively, it can, you know, throw something as a ranged weapon, or it can restrain the target if you can kind of justify, like, it's pinned under rubble, or it's wrapped up in a chain, or whatever it is that the barlgura is using. So that's kind of my proposed fix for the barlgura, to make it feel a little bit more like a gorilla, although it is technically an orangutan, a bit more like an ape, you know, using that kind of like King Kong fantasy to have it be picking up stuff and throwing them or busting them over your head. Because I love running the barlgura. It's probably my favorite demon, but I always feel like I'm ignoring the innate spellcasting and focusing just on like the cool description of it, you know, beating the tar out of people. Great. So our next demon then is the Chasmi. You know what? Let's change the way we're going to do this. Let's go and let's fix the barlgura right now, and then we will come back and we'll talk about the Chasmi. So here we go. We're going to go right into the barlgura, and we're going to add in Abyssal Hunger and all of that good stuff. So we are using a website called Tetracube, which I talk about every episode. It's a great website. They're not paying me to say this. I just like it. They make these awesome monster stat blocks. It is a really cool website. Go ahead and check it out. I really like the way that it works. We're going to keep pretty much all the rest of the kind of left column stuff here. You know, the saving throws and the skills and all that stuff. We're going to keep all of that. The main thing we're going to do is we're going to replace innate spellcasting with our improvised weapon power. So let's go down here into the abilities. We will delete innate spellcasting, and we will add improvised weapon. Oh, we got to do Abyssal Hunger first. Abyssal Hunger. So let me pull up I just closed the closet like an idiot. Let me pull that up so I can borrow the language from it. Good designers borrow language from other powers. This is what I've learned. Okay. So, if we're going to do Abyssal Hunger, then the text is, when the barlgura reduces, and we're just going to say reduces a creature. No, all right, that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points. Roll 1d20. On a 1 through 19, the barlgura gains. Now we're going to up the number of temporary hit points. We're going to say 3d6 temporary hit points. Hit points, advantage on all. You know what? We might do 4d6. 4d6 temporary hit points on all attack rolls for 1 minute, and their melee attacks deal an extra 2d4 fire damage. On a 20, the barlgura instantly transforms into a type 2 demon, which I believe is a chasme or a hezrau. Okay, great. And that is Abyssal Hunger. Nice. We'll be coming back to that to copy it over for other monsters, but now that it's typed out, it should be much easier to do. Great. Okay, so there is Abyssal Hunger. Let's update the stat block. Take a look at how that looks. Yeah, pretty good. This is going to get messed up in just a second when we add Improvised Weapon. I have this weird kind of like obsessive thing where I always like to make sure the stat block looks nice and even. I hate it when it's kind of like out of order. It's one of the cool things you can do here in TetraCube is you can move it around. Again, not paid by TetraCube. I just like it. I think it's a cool site. Okay, Improvised Weapon. Improvised Weapon. The barlgura can spend its bonus action to grab a medium object. Let's go a large object. Yeah, a large object within reach, a boulder, a wagon, a ship's anchor, and wield it as an improvised weapon. All attacks made with an improvised weapon have disadvantage. Advantage after hitting with an improvised weapon attack. The weapon is destroyed, and the barlgura must spend its bonus action to acquire another before making another improvised weapon attack. Beautiful. Okay, add that to abilities. That's going to go above Reckless, but under Abyssal Hunger. So like I say, it's going to start to get a little weird. Now we're going to put in Improvised Weapon here as an attack. Improvised Weapon. So this is melee or ranged attack based on strength. Now, the attack bonus currently for the barlgura is +7. We're going to keep that bonus. So +7 to hit. Reach is going to be 20 feet. We're going to say that it's 5 feet, maybe 10 feet. Or, no, I think it should be the same reach as normal. So reach is 5, or the range that they can do it at is what? Like 30 foot, 60 foot? I like that. What I like about that is that like there's an implication that you might as well do it at long range because the attack already has disadvantage. 1 target. So let's see. We need to make this almost more appealing than doing the multi-attack, right? It basically has to deal as much damage as 2 of these things. So what if we say that it deals 4d6 damage? Like 2 bites worth. Yeah. 4d6 plus whatever strength damage. And this is bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. Piercing or slashing damage. And the target must make a DC X. Ooh, what is that DC? Because we can use the well, I think it's based on the strength, so it's 8 plus the proficiency bonus, which is 3, so 11. The barlgura has 18 strength, so that is a DC 15 strength saving throw. On a failure, the barlgura, it's such a good word to say, barlgura. can choose whether the target is pushed up to 15 feet away, knocked prone, or restrained. Escape DC, we'll say 13. Lower it a little bit. Okay, then that's an action. Great. Now we need to change this. Yeah, because that's just an action. So it can make 3 attacks, 1 with its bite and 2 with its fists. Excuse me, this should say 2. And 2 with its fists. There we go. Add action. Okay. Let's update that. Yeah, that actually doesn't look too bad, spacing-wise. I like that. There you go, the barlgura. Abyssal Hunger, Improvised Weapon, Reckless Running Leap, Multi-Attack, Bite Fist, Improvised Weapon. Love that. Cool. We did it. All right, that is the barlgura. Okay, easy. This episode might be shorter than I thought. That only took us 20 minutes. Let's talk about the chasme. I'm sorry, just saving my barlgura here. And view. Let's see, it saves stat block as well. Okay, just that way if I have to come back in here and re-edit it. All right, so the next monster is the chasme, and this is basically like a giant kind of part fly, part mosquito demon. It's a CR6, so it's slightly more powerful, but it weirdly is in the next categories as a type 2 demon. The chasme has many of the same resistances, immunities, that kind of stuff, right, as other demons do. It's got magic resistance. It has advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Pretty powerful, nice utility. Its kind of main power, I actually think is cool and unique. It has a drone power where it kind of buzzes its wings. The chasme produces a horrid droning sound to which demons are immune. Any other creature that starts this turn within 30 feet of the chasme must succeed in a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or fall unconscious for 10 minutes, which I think is a long time. A creature that can't hear the drone automatically succeeds on the save. The effect on the creature ends if it takes damage, or if another creature takes an action to splash it with holy water. If a creature's saving throw is successful or the effect ends for it, it is immune to the drone for the next 24 hours. So that's a pretty powerful ability. Imagine knocking out a couple of characters with that. Now, it's a low DC con save, so chances are good at least somebody's going to make it. But the fact that they either have to take damage or get splashed with holy water, A, is cool and flavorful, and B, is good for action economy. The chasme is one of the few demons that really can stand up in a solo fight against a party, assuming this drone goes well. It's also got Spider Climb, which makes sense for sort of like a housefly monster. But the real, the heavy gun of the chasme is its proboscis attack. So it's a melee weapon attack, only at +5, which I think is kind of low. Reach 5 feet, 1 target. It hits for 4d6 piercing damage. So a lot of piercing already. But then it gets an additional 7d6 necrotic damage. And the target's hit point maximum is reduced by an amount equal to the necrotic damage taken. Basically, it's a vampire's bite, right? But it's a vampire's bite with just a preposterous amount of necrotic damage heaped on top, right? Truly absurd. The reduction in this creature's hit points lasts until the creature finishes a long rest or until it is affected by a spell like Greater Restoration, right? So I don't think that a lot of people understand how punishing that actually is. Think about that. So the chasme puts you unconscious, right, with its drone power. It goes to the first target and it makes a proboscis attack. Now here's the thing that's not calculated in there, is that if you're unconscious and the chasme hits you with an attack, that attack is automatically a crit, which means it does double dice, which means the chasme probably kills you because it deals 8d6 plus 14d6. It deals 22d6 damage, and then your maximum hit points are reduced by 14d6, right? Let's assume the average roll on there is, a 3? Assuming that's rounding down, that means that, you are taking 42 damage, and your maximum hit point total is reduced by 42 damage, right? That's assuming you're rolling average, and that's not including the 8d6 extra damage you're taking from the piercing damage. It's absurd. It's a crazy amount of damage, assuming that it's using it on an unconscious target, which it might not always be doing, but it's probably going to knock somebody out with the drone, right? You have to assume, and then it's immediately going to fly over there and do that, right? Because the drone's not in action. It's naturally around the creature all the time. So to me, that is the big hang-up of the Chasme. It is way too powerful with that proboscis attack. Like, I just don't see a scenario in which that doesn't deal like an absolutely absurd pile of damage. So my argument would be that I like that it's a mosquito. I think that's cool. But I also feel like there are enough creatures that reduce your maximum hit points. Like, that's such a vampire power. And it's cool that it's kind of like vampiric adjacent. But I wonder if there isn't something a little bit more unique we could do that wouldn't be so damaging. So it's borrowing a little bit from the Slod, but my thought was that maybe the Chasme sort of like stabs you and deals a bunch of damage, which will still be a crit, so it'll still be a big pile of piercing damage. But that what it does is it sort of impregnates you with like demonic eggs, kind of a xenomorph type thing, right? These demonic eggs could maybe hatch into, maybe rather than like eggs, they could be like demon ichor, right? And so you maybe take a bunch of acid damage as well. Obviously less than, and it doesn't reduce your hit points. But then the worst part is that you make a con save, and then, you know, after a long rest or 24 hours later, a bunch of like manes or something like hatch inside of you, right? So I want to look at the Slod and how it's worded. I don't want it to be a thing where it's automatically killing you or that it's copying the Slod too much. But that's kind of my idea, is it's more like it's pumping this demon ichor into your body, and then that's kind of like having horrible, disastrous results later. Maybe you make a disease that you attach to it. Maybe it's just an effect that springs out later. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for the Chasme. But before we get to that, we got to put that demonic, that Abyssal Hunger in there. So let's do that on our Chasme stat block. First, we're going to copy it over from the barlgura to make sure we get the wording right. But we have to remember as well that the Chasme is already a Type 2 demon, so you'll have to become a Type 3 demon if you do your Abyssal Hunger properly. We're not removing any powers here. We're just going to change the way the proboscis works. So when the Chasme reduces a creature that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points, roll 1d20. On 1 through 20, the Chasme gains 46 temporary hit points, advantage on all attack rolls for 1 minute, and their melee attacks deal an extra 2d4 fire damage. On a d20, the Chasme instantly transforms into a Type 3 demon, which I believe is, I forgot, I said it, and then I forgot it. Chasme. Wrong page. Type 3, is it Glabrezu or a Yaklal? Glabrezu or a Yaklal? Yaklal. Great. Okay, Abyssal Hunger. So let's add that ability. Move that up to the top. There we go. And then let's go into the proboscis. So all the normal stuff is right. I'm trying to figure out what is the way to balance this out. So the assumption here, first of all, I want to read the Slod, but the assumption here is that it's using this against an unconscious target, right? So I already think 46 is too much. You could maybe do 3d6 and 3d6, but that's still 12d6 damage against an unconscious target, which is an awful lot. It's better than 24 or whatever, 22. Yeah, let's maybe do that. So do 3d6 piercing plus 3d6 acid damage. Maybe we can say necrotic. That's fine. Let's go. Okay, but I want to look at the Slod and how that's worded. David, I know you've used Slod recently in the past, but I don't know if any of your players got infected by one. Okay, if the target is a humanoid, it must succeed on a DC 14 Constitution saving throw or be infected with a disease, a minuscule Slod egg. A humanoid host can carry only one Slod egg to term at a time. Over 3 months, the egg moves to the chest cavity, gestates, and forms a Slod tadpole. In the 24-hour period before giving birth, the host starts to feel unwell. Its speed is halved. It has disadvantage on attack rolls, ability checks, and saving throws. At birth, the tadpole chews its way through the vital organs and out of the host's chest in 1 round, killing the host in the process. If the disease is cured before the tadpole's re-emergence, the unborn Slod is disintegrated. Okay, so I think that's a little too slow burn. 2 did, but they had a paladin. Oh, I see. They just did lay on hands. That's right. You told me that. Yeah. So I think that's a little too slow burn for the Chasme, and we want to make it distinct. So I like the idea that it pumps you full of demon ichor, and that you take this damage. Maybe instead of them hatching, because I don't know that like mains are really made of demon ichor. Maybe the demon ichor just like it's like ongoing damage until somebody casts some kind of a cure spell on you. I think that's cool. So let's do piercing damage, and the target must succeed. Okay, I'm gonna set this up here so I can write it down. Must succeed on a DC X. What would that be? So it's, what are we gonna base it on? It's Constitution. It's Strength. Ugh, how strongly you can like pump that shit in there. So I don't think it's very high then. It's 8 plus 11, so it's DC 13 Constitution saving throw. Or become infected with Demon Ichor. An infected creature takes 1d6 necrotic damage at the start of their turn until they either receive magical healing or have the greater restoration spell cast on them. Yeah, I kind of think something like that is simpler, right? Where it's like you just constantly receiving it, and if the party is like out of Demon Ichor, you're out of like magical healing, you're kind of in trouble, right? That like you need. Maybe put drinks a healing potion in there as well. Oh no, did my camera go out? Oh shoot, I bet it did. Sorry, I bumped my. Thank you for catching that, David. My setup is a little janky over here. Apologies while I get this figured out. No, you're good. That was totally on me. My setup is a little janky, and so if I like nudge any of my like I have a little adapter that I use to have the monitor and the mic and the camera, and if I nudge it, then the whole thing shuts down because it's a little sensitive. I do have a new camera though, so I'm excited to get a chance to use that. Let me minimize this. Here we go. Okay, cool. Great. This is not the new camera. This is still the old camera. I haven't had a chance to work on the new camera. This is the new camera. It's like not even new. Like no one would consider this new. This is like a Canon M50. So it's like kind of an older camera in terms of, you know, vlogging. But it's new to me because I've had this shitty Logitech for forever. No, I haven't had much of a chance to putz with this yet. It's been sitting here on my desk tempting me, but I've just got so many other things to do. I'm so busy. But that's I'm going to make some time for it this weekend. Because I want to shoot some new content. I've got some new ideas. Okay, start of the turn until they either drink a healing potion, receive magical healing, or have the let's do lesser restoration, not greater. I have the lesser restoration spell cast on them. Hey, what's up, Nuker Wolf? I didn't even know you were there. You're sneaking in. Okay, then that's the new proboscis. Proboscis. It's technically different. I like that, and it's this thing where like that feels powerful, but it's no more powerful than the ridiculous like combination of the previous proboscis and the droning power. No way. Okay, cool. That is our Chasmi. Nice. View the image to save it. Save the stat block. No worries, Nuker Wolf. You're just lurking. I just didn't see you there. Okay, cool. And now we are on to the next demon. We're talking about the Shadow Demon, y'all. The Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon is cool. It is a CR4 demon, so it is the least powerful of the demons we have here. And it is sort of like an incorporeal remnant of a demon that is like slain on the material plane, but for whatever reason is not allowed to return back to the abyss. This is kind of like literally the shadow of the demon left behind. They have a bunch of resistances. They're resistant to acid fire, and then bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing for non-magical attacks. They're immune to cold, lightning, and poison, but they're also vulnerable to radiant, which I think is really cool. I think more demons should do that. I especially like the fact that they're a shadow creature and they are vulnerable to light. That's neat. They have dark vision, they have telepathy, they speak Abyssal, all that stuff. They have incorporeal movement, so the demon can move through other creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. It takes 5 1d10 force damage if it ends its turn inside an object. It's got light sensitivity. While in bright light, the demon has disadvantage on attack rolls as well as on wisdom perception checks that rely on sight. It's got shadow stealth. While in dim light or darkness, the demon can take the hide action as a bonus action. And then it's got a claw attack that has an interesting ability. It deals psychic damage, first of all. 2d6 plus 3 psychic damage. And if the demon had advantage on the attack roll, it deals 4d6 psychic damage. So basically it's like a sneak attack, but it's interesting that it's built into the attack roll. So the Shadow Demon it's fine. I don't think there's anything like overtly wrong with it, but I think it could be a little bit better. So there was a previous version in 4th edition of the Shadow Demon where the conceit was that it could not attack unless it had advantage. And I actually kind of think that's cooler. It is a limitation on the Shadow Demon, so it might mean that if we add in Abyssal Hunger and we add in this power, it reduces its total CR. But I think that gives you a lot more indication of how to play the Shadow Demon. My big beef with the Shadow Demon is that you don't really understand how it's meant to function until you get to the last line of its attack. And by that time, like, if you're pulling this demon out, this is what happened to me a couple of weeks ago. Someone kind of like inexplicably summoned a demon that in a way I wasn't expecting, and I had to pull the demon out. I thought, oh, the Shadow Demon's cool, let's do that. And then I didn't realize, like, oh, it's meant to kind of be a stealth attacker, right? It's meant to like reach out from the shadows. It makes sense if you think of it in those terms, but I didn't understand how it was meant to run. It's got shadow stealth, so it can take the hide action as a bonus action, so it's a little bit better, but I just feel like it could be a little cooler, and I really love that image of it not being able to attack unless it has you unaware. It's like, what a horror movie, kind of like Paranormal Activity sort of a mechanic, right? That I compared it in the podcast to Boo from Super Mario, right? Where it like covers its face when you're looking at it, and then when you turn away is when it attacks you. And I think like baking that into the stats is actually kind of cool. So that may actually bring the Shadow Demon down to like a CR3, but I think that's maybe okay, because I think that it's more important that the monster is cool than that it is powerful. I also think you could give the demon a little bit more ability to make shadows and to do stuff. I did this in my Dark Mantle, where it's got an ability called Extinguish, where it can like put out lights. I don't necessarily think the Shadow Demon should have like a darkness aura, but I do like the idea that, you can't create magical light or non-magical light in a certain radius around it, right? It is surrounded by an aura of dim light. Maybe it wants a new body, could key into a ghost thing. That's kind of cool. Let's see. So we're gonna give it Abyssal Hunger first of all. So let's copy over from the Chasmi. Okay, Abyssal Hunger. Ooh. Nuker Wolf says maybe it wants a new body. Could key into a ghost-like. What if we change the way its Abyssal Hunger works? When the demon reduces a creature that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points, it can take possession of the body? Yeah, that's cool. How would you word that? Let me look at the ghost, because the ghost, like, they make a saving throw. It's not based on reducing them to 0 hit points. But I kind of think it's fun if certain demons play with how Abyssal Hunger works. They don't all use it exactly the same. The Quasit did this, right? And I think the Vrock up next is going to do that. I wonder if this is a way to use it. Because, like, adding a whole possession thing feels a little too ghosty, but making it part of one of its established abilities, I think, is kind of cool. What am I doing? I'm going to go the ghost, not the Shadow Demon. The ghost. I personally ain't afraid of no ghost. Doo-doo-doo-doo, Okay, possession. One humanoid that the ghost can see within 5 feet of it must succeed on a DC 13 charisma saving throw or be possessed by the ghost. The ghost then disappears, and the target is incapacitated and loses control of its body. The ghost now controls the body but doesn't deprive the target of awareness. The ghost can't be targeted by any attack, spell, or any other effect, except ones that turn undead, and it retains its alignment, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and immunity to being charmed and frightened. It otherwise uses the possessed target's statistics, but doesn't gain access to the target's knowledge, class features, or proficiencies. The possession lasts until the body drops to 0 hit points, the ghost ends it as a bonus action, or the ghost is turned or forced out by an effect like the Dispel Evil and Good spell. When the possession ends, the ghost reappears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the body. The target is immune to the ghost possession for 24 hours after succeeding on the saving throw or the possession ends. So I think you make it a point that, like, if the body gets hit points back, then it ends the effect, right? Okay. When the demon reduces a creature that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points, it can take possession of the unconscious creature's body. The demon then disappears, and the target is... And while unconscious, target disappears and gains control. They could leave him become a ghost, but that's pretty complex, Nuker Wolf, to put into one stat block. It's a cool idea, though. And gains control of its body, of the target's body. Okay. Actually, let's just do this. The demon disappears and gains control of the creature's body. The demon now controls the body. The demon can't be targeted by any attack, spell, or other effect, except once it turned undead. No, let's see. Any other effect, and it retains its alignment, intelligence, wisdom, charisma, and immunity to, I think it retains its hit points, alignment, intelligence. Hey, what's up, Caleb? Thanks for coming. I agree, it does sound pretty cool. It does sound pretty cool. So the trick is, like, how do you like mechanize its hit points, right? That, like, I think the demon, if it's got 84 hit points or whatever, is that really how many hit points the Shadow Demon has? Oh my gosh, maybe I forgot to change that on here. That seems like way too many. Especially if it has all those resistances. That can't be right. So let me check out the demon, the Shadow Demon, because I think that's a flub on my part. Yeah, the Shadow Demon has 66 hit points, which is still a lot. This should be 12d8. Why is it so high? 12d8. Oh, because it's a medium fiend. Ha ha ha. There we go. That's better. Okay. So what's tricky is that the body is already unconscious. So the body doesn't have hit points. Like with a ghost, the possession lasts until the body is reduced to 0. I think the demon would still have its own hit points when it goes in, because it triggers when the creature reduces them to 0 hit points, and then it goes in, right? It retains its hit points, alignment, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma scores. I don't think it has immunity to those things. Oh, it does have a bunch of condition immunities, though, that I didn't put in here. Okay, yeah. Exhaustion, immune, grappled, paralyzed, petrified. I don't think it retains any of these immunities, because it's in the body now. Yeah. Hit points, alignment, intelligent, wisdom, and charisma scores. Intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Charisma. It otherwise uses the possessed target's statistics, but doesn't gain access to the target's knowledge, class features, or proficiencies. Okay? The possession lasts until the demon drops to 0 hit points. Yeah, I think so. The ghost has immunities to being charmed and frightened, but the demon doesn't have those immunities. Like, I think any of the like mental ones, you could say that it retains, but it wouldn't retain, you know, grapple or anything like that. Yeah, absolutely. The possession lasts until the demon drops to 0 hit points. The creature regains hit points, right? You drops 0 hit points. The demon ends it as a bonus action. Ends it as a bonus action. The creature regains hit points, or the ghost, or sorry, the demon is turned, is forced out by an effect like the Dispel Evil and Good spell. When the possession ends, the ghost reappears. Oh, sorry, I keep saying the ghost. The demon reappears in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of the body. The target is immune to the demons, to this demon's possession for 24 hours. We've not done that, but I think that's something that a dungeon master could do on their own. Saving throw or after the possession ends. Because you're going to see it happen, probably, right? The way that it works, because it's tied into their Abyssal Hunger feature, which I'm worried that's going to blow up the stats, yeah, is that it when they reduce the creature to 0 hit points, this happens. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to see it occur. If it does happen off screen, maybe it'll be different, but oh boy, it's so bloated. Okay, that's Abyssal Hunger, big and chunky, but that's all right. I want to do one other thing. Maybe we do have to like move these around to. Ugh, I hate that. It looks better, but I hate it. I want to do like a darkness aura. Bright lights within 30 feet of the shadow demon become dim lights. And dim lights within here. The shadow demon is surrounded by a corona of darkness. Bright lights within 30 feet within that. Yeah, I love that, Caleb. That's a great idea. I just think, yeah, there'd be something you'd have to convey in narrative, right? It's already such a huge block of information. You know, I'm hesitant to put more in there. The shadow demon is surrounded by a corona of darkness. Bright lights are reduced to dim lights. Then surrounded by a 30-foot, by a 15-foot radius. Dim lights within this sphere of darkness, and dim lights are extinguished entirely. Magical light. How does the darkness spell work? Because I want to borrow that phrasing a little bit. These are great ideas, guys. Thanks for helping me with this one. The Shadow Demon turned out a lot more complicated than I had planned, but that's cool. I love that. Darkness, 5e. Because I think you can puncture this Darkness aura if it's of a high enough level spell, but I like the idea that it like shorts out lower level stuff. If this aura if an area of light created by a spell of 2nd level or higher overlaps with this sphere, that light is unaffected. So it's only, you know, magical light, I think is the conceit. So reword that. Areas of light created by spells of 2nd level or higher are unaffected by the sphere, by the aura. Okay, that's better. It's called Corona of Shadow. Like that better. Maybe you fold that and Shadow Stealth together. You go like, in addition. Add action. Oh, one of the benefits, Nuker Wolf, would be that while it is while it is possessing a body, it doesn't have the limitation that we're going to add here in just a second. Boy, this got a lot more complicated. But that's okay. That is okay. That's why we're here. So we're going to do, not cowardly, Shadow Strike. The Shadow Demon cannot attack. How did the 4th edition one word it, I wonder? 4E Shadow Demon, because I want to take that wording. Shadow Demon. Oh, come on. Forget what book it's in. Oh, I think it's in Manual of the Planes. Sorry, my stream might slow down a little bit here as I go rooting around looking for this monster in 4th edition. Just a moment, everybody. I just want to see the wording on this Shadow Demon. How it works. Shadow Demon is page 122. Okay. It is worded like this. Oh, does it not have it here? I thought it had it here. Where did I get this idea? Also see combat advantage. Okay, it's called Void Rake. That's such a dumb attack name. Void Rake. I think I mean like rake with the claws, but it does make it seem like it's like a rake that you'd use like in the yard. Yeah, God. I hate that. Cannot attack without advantage. I hate how uneven the stat block is, that I will say. How's that? There you go. Okay, and so then 46 psychic damage. What's up, Hunter Fox? How you doing, sir? Dex. 4d6 psychic damage. Yeah, we have one more demon to do. You are just in time for the vrock. That is attack. There we go. Complicated, but cool. I like that. That's a lot more interesting. No, we are going to do vrocks, but we haven't done them yet. They're coming up. They're next. If you just got here, then you got here just in time for the vrock. Okay, that is the Shadow Demon. I want to double check those immunities and stuff because I'm worried that I missed other ones. We just did the Shadow Demon. Where are you? Here we go. Okay. Yeah, Vrock's probably my second favorite. I like the barlgura, but Vrock is number 2 for me. I got some opinions about the Vrock, though. Oh, yeah, we are missing a couple of... it is resistant to necrotic as well. It does have a lot of resistances. And thunder. This is what non-magical weapons. Cold lightning poison. It's immune. Lightning poison. Okay, that's right. There we go. All right, view the image, save the stat block. I'm gonna get a little bit more water because I can feel my voice is a little scratchy. And then we will come back for the last monster. We'll talk about the vrock. I will be back in 30 seconds. BRB. Okay, it's time to talk about vrocks. Let's see. The vrock. So the vrock is like a big, loathsome vulture demon. And it's got a lot of the same normal demon abilities. Let me scroll down, show you guys the vrock here. A lot of the same normal kind of demon abilities. You know, it can fly, obviously. It's got big vulture wings. It's resistant to cold, fire, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing for non-magic weapons. It's, you know, immune to poison and the poison condition. It does have magic resistance like the Chasmi. It's a CR6, just like the Chasmi. But for some reason, it's considered a type 1 demon, which I guess makes sense because it's not quite as powerful as the Chasmi. And it has a big pile of actions. It's got multi-attack, one with its beak and one with its talons, so pretty normal stuff. The beak does piercing, the talons do slashing. And then it's got 2 other abilities. It's got Spores on a recharge 6, and it's got Stunning Screech, which is once per day. So the way the Spores work is it creates a 15-foot cloud of toxic spores that extends out from the vrock. They spread around corners. Each creature in that area must succeed on a DC 14 con save or become poisoned. While poisoned, the target takes 5 poison damage at the start of each of its turns. The target can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. If you empty a vial of holy water on the target, also ends the effect, which is some cool flavor. And then it's got the Stunning Screech, which is once per day. It emits a horrific screech. Each creature within 20 feet of it that can hear it and that isn't a demon must succeed on a DC 14 Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of the vrock's next turn. So here's my problem. I think the Spores are conceptually at odds with this demon. I don't think it makes sense for them to have Spores. I don't know why they have Spores. But they're also, like, not cool Spores. It's just poison damage and then the poisoned condition, right? It's not like anything that, like, fun is happening. It's not like making you go insane or anything. It's just like, what if you took some poison damage? It's got this Stunning Screech, which is definitely more in line with the idea of it being, you know, a bird. At least it's like screeching, where the Spores just feel like there's something else ported in from some other monster. Now, one of the things we talked about on our last demon episode was about mutations, and I do have some Abyssal Mutations here. We had a big long list of them. When I finish the demons, I'm going to add a big table of things that you can kind of staple onto your demon, especially when they mutate because of their Abyssal Hunger. This is a great way to add in one of these things to make them extra scary. So I can see a vrock with Spores as one of its mutations. That's cool. And I might even, you know what, I'm going to throw Spores on here. Exudes a spore cloud that poisons. A spore cloud that poisons the target. But if the concept is that vrocks are vulture demons, they're just kind of vulture demons in sort of an aesthetic sense, you know? They sometimes work with the fungus queen. Oh, is that it? That's also kind of cool. I just don't get them. I just don't think that they make narrative sense for the vrock. If they do supposedly work for Zugat Moy, they don't say that in here, I don't think. I mean, I looked at the lore. I'm not saying that they don't, but I'm saying that it's not well communicated here. Dull-witted, capricious fiends, live only to create pain and carnage. Giant hybrid of a humanoid and a vulture. Gobble humanoid flesh whenever they can. Stunning potential prey with an ear-splitting shriek. can shake their wings, releasing clouds of toxic spores. Doesn't despite the level of treasure, they've nothing about Zuggenmoy. Maybe and that could totally be where it comes from, but it's not in here, and I don't care about demon lords anyway. Like, I want the demons to be cool on their own. So I personally am going to advocate for removing the spores, because I want to focus on vulture stuff. I want to focus on their screech, and I want to give them more of a scavenger type ability. So I'm going to pull the spores completely, because I just don't think that they're that interesting. I'm not saying you couldn't do them in a cool way. Right, deep lore. I'm not saying you couldn't do spores in a cool way on the vrock. They don't excite me. Maybe if they did something cooler, I could get behind it. So if somebody wants to pitch me on a cool spore effect that isn't just poison damage, I'll hear it. Otherwise, what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to make the stunning screech rechargeable. We might bring it back from stun, and we might make it slow or something like that, because stunning on a recharge is pretty gnarly. I also just generally hate once a day stuff. I'm thinking sonic damage, maybe stacking with a flock of them, maybe stun and confuse is good too. But like a screech, I think is cool. Hunter Fox says carrion eaters, and I think that's kind of where I want to go. I want to play with, I want to like supercharge their Abyssal Hunger power. So here's kind of what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that they have Abyssal Hunger like our other demons, right? Where whenever they reduce someone to 0 hit points, they get extra stuff, and there's a chance they mutate into a more powerful demon. But I also like the idea that the vrock gets their Abyssal Hunger triggers more frequently. So rather than reducing them just to 0 hit points, I think it's also whenever someone fails a death saving throw, right, around them. So the idea is that they're like feeding off of the dying energy of these creatures. They then might be incentivized to go and attack a creature that's unconscious, which makes them extra deadly. And as long as your players know that that's the kind of monster they are, like think of them like a ghoul, right? Like my ghouls, I specifically tell my players when they fight a ghoul that like a ghoul will attack an unconscious person because it is just like hunger on 4 legs, right? It's not thinking tactically, it's just trying to gobble as much flesh as it possibly can. So if it drops you unconscious, it's just going to eat you, and it doesn't care if there are bigger threats around it, right? I think the vrock could be a similar monster, that they are so driven by their kind of rapacious hunger that they are likely to attack an unconscious target anyway. But that would have to be something that you would have to do as a dungeon master rather than something we can put into the stat block. But I like the idea that that's triggered by their death saving throws. Whenever someone fails a death save in their vicinity, they roll again on the Abyssal Hunger with a chance to mutate. So we're not going to take the Shadow Demon's Abyssal Hunger because that's pretty complicated. We are going to take the Chasme's one, though. So we're going to grab this. Well, actually, no, let's grab the barlguras because that's got the right type. Okay, so we're going to the vrock. We're leaving all of this stuff. I do want to reform the screech. And I'm open to thunder damage. I'm open to confusing effects. I think could be cool. We will get there when we get there. This is a vrock and vrocks. So let's go Abyssal Hunger. Ka-chow. When the vrock reduces a creature that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points, roll a d20 on a 1 through 19. The vrock gains 4d6 temporary hit points. All right. Reduces a creature that isn't a fiend to 0 hit points, or whenever a creature fails a death saving throw within 60 feet of the vrock. Roll 1d20. Vrock gains 46 temporary hit points, advantage on all attack rolls for 1 minute, and their melee attacks deal an extra 2d4 fire damage. On a d20, the vrock instantly transforms into a type 2 demon, a chasme, or a hezro. Caleb says, what about death sense or advantage against damaged targets, like the bloodied mechanic? Yeah, I don't hate that. That could be cool. Let's put that in. So Sahaugen, however you pronounce it, have a similar thing. Theirs is really gnarly, though, and it's kind of their unique power. They have Blood Frenzy. Has advantage on melee attack rolls against any creature that doesn't have all of its hit points. So something like that is cool. If we do, maybe it's like the vrock has advantage on all melee rolls against creatures with less than half their total hit points. So it is bloodied, but I'm not calling it that because that thing doesn't exist in 4e. Which, again, shout out to 4e. Some of the best monster design in Dungeons & Dragons is all in 4e. I like the idea of it having, like, maybe it's Feeding Frenzy. That it's similar to Blood Frenzy, but not quite the same. Let's put that under ability. I think that's cool. And now let's dig in here. We're gonna kill Spores, and I wanna mess with Stunning Screech. Okay. So we're gonna say recharge 6, like the Spores. The vrock emits a horrific screech. Each creature within 20 feet of it that can hear it and isn't a demon must succeed on a DC 14 Constitution saving throw. So here's maybe what we could do, is we could say that, like, if the target fails, like, or, you know, something bad happens. On a failure of 5 or more, the target is stunned until the end of the vrock's next turn. Right, so it still has some, you can still call it Stunning Screech, but if it's got like more of like a slowing effect, boy, I think there's a golem that has the slowing power. Golem. I think it's I was the golem powers are weird. We'll talk about that when we get to the golems. That's gonna be an interesting episode. Who is it? It's Clay Golem? No. Iron Golem? Who's got the slow power? One of these guys does. Stone Golem does. Each creature must make a DC 17 Wisdom saving throw against this magic. On a failed save, the target can't use reactions. On a failed save, the target can't use reactions. Its speed is halved, and it can't make more than one attack on its turn. On a failure of 5 or more, the target is instead stunned. The target is instead stunned till the end of the vrock's next turn. Let's see, these effects. Actually, let's do this. Is instead stunned. These effects last until the end of the vrock's next turn. On a successful save, and yeah, I kind of think it's just that. It does mean that on a success, we're gonna make that DC a little harder. We're gonna go to 16. It does mean that, like, on a success, nothing happens to you, right? You're just fine. Which is a little weird action economy wise, but they're already pretty gnarly with that advantage on their attack rolls, so I'm not too worried about it. That looks weird. Yeah, there you go. So I think that's what we're gonna do with Stunning Screech. So the vrock emits a horrific screech. Each creature within 20 feet of it that can hear it and isn't a demon must succeed on a DC 16 Constitution saving throw. On a failed save, the target can't use reactions, its speed is halved, and it can't make more than one attack on its turn. On a failure of 5 or more, the target is instead stunned. These effects last until the end of the vrock's next turn. Yeah, I think that's cool. It is recharge 6, though. I like the idea that, like... Yeah, let's get a little fuckier. On a successful save, the target... Boy, how would you do this? Can take... Can move or take an action on their turn. Can move or take an action on their turn, but not both. On a failed save, the target can't use reactions. Its speed is halved, and it can't make more. The target instead can't use reactions. On a failed save of 5 or more, how does the Medusa word that? So the idea is it's these like cascading things. If you succeed, then you're dazed from 4th edition, right? If you fail, then you're slowed from 5th edition, and then if you are if you fail by 5 or more, you're stunned. So even if you succeed, there's still some kind of a penalty to it, right? Where's the Medusa? And it's recharge 6, so it's only going to happen probably once a fight. But there's a chance it could happen again. Medusa. I just want to get the specific wording on how the Medusa like phrases the failure of 5 or more and make sure I have it correct. Because again, good designers borrow language. If the saving throw fails by 5 or more, I knew mine was wrong. If the saving throw fails by 5 or more, the creature is instead stunned. These effects last until the end of the rock's next turn. Yeah, there we go. That's cooler. I like that better. Okay, cool. That is the vrock then, which means that is the end of our stream. We have all 4 of these demons done and ready to go. Nice work, everybody. Let's do a quick review. We went through the barlgura, and we removed the innate spellcasting, because again, kind of weird. We gave it the improvised weapon power. Of course, we gave it Abyssal Hunger and the improvised weapon power from my version of Kong that allows it to pick up a random object, a boulder, a wagon, a ship's anchor, whatever, and then make an attack with it for different effects, which is cool. Feels very ape fantasy, right? The Chasmi, we changed we gave it the Abyssal Hunger, and we changed the proboscis power, where instead of just absolutely annihilating a character for no good reason, it infects them with demon ichor, and then they continue to take necrotic damage until they receive magical healing, which is cool. The Shadow Demon, we did, I think, the most changes to. We gave it the Abyssal Hunger, but we changed it to a possession power, where it takes possession of the creature, which is kind of cool, because I was thinking about, like, Exorcist, has some of that element there. That's great. I'm glad you like it, Hunter. I know you're a vrock fan, so I hope you're pleased with the new vrocks. The Corona of Shadow was a new power we gave the Shadow Demon, where it's surrounded by darkness and it dims lights. But it can't, it spells of a certain level. Oh my gosh, someone's calling me. But spells of a certain level will overcome that. And then it's got Shadow Strike, so Shadow Demon cannot attack without advantage. And then it's got Claw Attack that just does the psychic damage, which is the same, but now with the new context. And then lastly, the vrock, we changed the way its Abyssal Hunger works, to where it is also triggered whenever a creature fails a death saving throw. And then it's got a Feeding Frenzy power, it's advantage on all melee attack rolls against creatures that have less than half their total hit points. And then we redesigned the Stunning Screech by removing the spores, having it have kind of like a cascading series of failures. Awesome. Those are our new demons, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out and watching the stream. We will be back. I actually think we're off next week because my parents will be in town. So we will not be back next week to do the Death Knight, but that will probably be the week after, because that is the next monster that's coming out. If you're a patron, the Death Knight episode comes out tomorrow. If you are just a fan, just a viewer, that comes out on Sunday. So go ahead and check that out. But otherwise, you can find me on Twitter. I am at ProDMTimothy. We've got a Discord, we've got a Patreon, we've got a whole bunch of stuff you can go and check out. Please do that. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a like down below. Big shout out to everyone who came out today. David in the beginning and Nuker Wolf. Kayla, was lovely to see you again, my friend. And obviously, as always, it's lovely to have you here, Hunter. I love your designer eye on whatever we work on. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming out. I will see you guys on Saturday, I think. I'll be doing some Sea of Thieves streaming over on our Twitch channel. But there'll be links and stuff on Twitter and things like that. So go ahead and check that out. But until then, thank you so much for coming. And I will see you next time. Happy adventuring. Thanks, everybody.